One of the biggest cards of the year and possibly the biggest main event of 2025 goes down this weekend at UFC 322. Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev at Madison Square Garden. In this video, we are going to be doing a full card breakdown and prediction, starting with the early prelims, working our way up to the main event. So stick around to hear my thoughts on each and every fight at UFC 322. If this is your first time seeing my channel, my name is Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. Let's get into it. Before we get into the video, guys, thank you so much. We hit 10,000 subscribers yesterday. My hope was to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and here we are, not even halfway through November, and we are at 10,000 subs. Thank you so much, guys. 50K, 100K, a million coming up next. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, become a channel member if you want access to bonus content. We have a new vlog dropping tomorrow for channel members. We start with the early prelim opener of Viacheslav Borshchev, Slaviklaus going up against Matheus Camilo. If I remember correctly, Matheus Camilo was supposed to fight on the Aspinall and Gone card at UFC 321, and now here he is getting a late and short notice booking against Viacheslav Borshchev. Basically just rounding out the card. They had 13 fights. Now they have 14. And that's basically it. That's all that this fight is really here for, is to get this guy a fight, because he was supposed to fight about 3 weeks ago. We have Slaviklaus is here 8-6-1. Frankly, it seems like he needs this one to keep his career going. If he loses and falls to 8-7-1, I'm very, very certain that the UFC will let him go. Matheus Camilo, although he's coming off of a loss, has a whole lot less to prove considering his good record, not 8-6, not basically a 500 record. And I think he's going to get the sub. Viacheslav Borshchev takes a lot of damage, has a hard time getting up off of bottom, like we saw in the Chase Hooper fight. I'm going to go with Matheus Camilo, second round ground and pound TKO. We move up the card to Khamzat Chimaev's teammate Baisangur Susurkaev going up against Erin McConico. 2-0 in the UFC for McConico. Really don't know much about him, which is concerning, basically saying he hasn't made much noise. As you can see right here, the money line on Baisangur Susurkaev minus 1050. Susurkaev had 2 wins in 5 days from Contender Series to a UFC pay-per-view. I think it was UFC 319, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was on the Chicago card. But Susurkaev has clean technical grappling. He's very, very disciplined, and he has a very low-risk, high-control style, doesn't put himself out there to get hurt badly. Whereas someone like McConico has big power early, explosive first rounds where he really goes for it. But when the grappling gets heavy, he really starts to fade, and his gas tank is very questionable. And even just given the odds, I think that this is going to be a very, very dominant decision for Baisangur Susurkaev. I don't think he's going to get the finish. McConico is athletic to keep himself in the fight, but I do think McConico is going to fade once Susurkaev starts to get his grappling involved, and we are going to see a very dominant 30-27, maybe even a 30-26 decision win for Susurkaev. And he's Khamzat's teammate. They're going to push him, and he has the talent to get pushed. His first fight was not great. I think it was against Eric Nolan, but Susurkaev has the better strategy and fight style for going deep into fights. Of course, McConico has a puncher's chance. I give the advantage very heavily to Baisangur Susurkaev. I think that the first round is going to be Susurkaev trying to slow McConico down successfully, and then he fades from there, and then we are going to have quite the dominant performance in rounds 2 and 3 from Susurkaev. So I have Susurkaev by decision. Moving on up the card to Angela Hill, 18-15 in her career, going up against Fatima Kline. She's defending her ranked spot against Fatima Kline. And Fatima Kline, if I'm not mistaken, is a training partner of Erin Blanchfield. So she's training with some of the best people in her division, or in the 125 division in the UFC. She's training with top level female fighters. Angela Hill, volume striker, lots of experience, which could help her out, but essentially no finishing threat whatsoever. Fatima Kline, 8-1, rising prospect, strong grappling. She's physical. She's kind of big for the division, whereas Angela Hill is pretty small, and she definitely has more finishing upside. And when we look at the odds right here, very heavily in favor of Fatima Kline. We have minus 520 in favor of Fatima Kline. And I think that's how it's going to go. I think we are going to see a very dominant first 2 rounds from Fatima Kline, and potentially her lack of experience compared to Angela Hill is going to put her in some trouble a little bit later in the fight, where she wins the first 2 rounds and round 3 gets tricky. Angela Hill, maybe finds the back and she has to defend a choke for the last couple minutes of the fight. But at the end, I think Fatima Kline is going to 29-28 decision win this fight. And it's going to be a good veteran test for Fatima Kline, rising prospect, needs to get that experience in, and going up against somebody like Angela Hill, who's not the most talented, but she's tough and experienced, is going to help her in her career a lot. But the youth, the activity, and the physicality of Fatima Kline, I got a decision win. She wins rounds 1 and 2. Angela Hill maybe gets the 3rd, and she moves on to 9-1. Angela Hill falls to 18-16. God, that's a brutal record. We move up the prelims to Pat Sabatini versus Chepe Mariscal in the featherweight division. Pat Sabatini, 20-5. Very, very strong grappler. I know that he had a pretty boring fight against Grant Dawson, if I'm not mistaken, where he essentially just sat on bottom trying to throw up triangles. Really embarrassing performance there. But when he does get on top, he has good top pressure, very good top pressure. His one issue is that when he gets caught, that's like kind of it for him. He checks out of the fight, goes into full defensive mode. Either he gets finished or he stays on bottom, stalling out, and really, he's just not the most durable guy in the world when it comes to taking damage. He's got the skill and the cardio for grappling, but when he gets clipped on the feet, I mean, it's almost like he shuts down in some ways and his activity drops, completely gets gun shy for the rest of the fight. And these guys are both coming off wins, but nonstop pressure from Chepe Mariscal, clean boxing, great shin, loves to brawl, spent some time training with Onyx Labs and Justin Gaethje, Kamaru Usman in Denver, Colorado. He has since, if I'm not mistaken, moved to Vegas. I think he's at Extreme Couture, but he loves to brawl. He's a momentum fighter. When he starts getting the momentum in his way, it's just all downhill from there. And Pat Sabatini, struggling with his chin and endurance to damage the way that he does, I think this is a really bad matchup. When you look at the odds, I know you have a -130 for Pat Sabatini, but I say you can put your money on Chepe Mariscal. This is an underdog that I'm very, very confident in him winning. So I give this fight to Chepe Mariscal. I'm going to say round 2 TKO. I know that this is a underdog pick, but I got round 2 TKO for Chepe Mariscal. I think he drags Pat Sabatini into some messy exchanges. Mariscal gets the finish in the 2nd round. We move on to Kyle Daukaus versus GM3 the GOAT, Gerald Meerschaert. 16-4 Kyle Daukaus. He's had some weirdness in his career, like the headbutt with Kevin Holland. He got cut. He went back to Cage Fury, became champion, defended, re-signed to the UFC, and now he's going up against GM3. Both of these guys, great grapplers. Kyle Daukaus, the Darce Knight, and GM3, very, very good on the ground as well. Guillotine threat, I think like 27, 28 submission wins in his career. Good arm triangle. Both of these guys are going to make this a grappling match. Kyle Daukaus has really good grappling fundamentals, good back takes. He hunts that Darce choke. He's got long arms. He's lanky. He's built for the style that he pursues in fights, and most of the time has a pretty good fight IQ, which helps him quite a bit when you're going up against somebody that has the experience of GM3, 37-20. I know it's a brutal Anthony Smith type of record, but 57 pro fights is something to at least give a little bit of credit to for that experience. Now, GM3, really good arm triangle threat, really good guillotine threat, but he has a lot of losses. But he has shown quite a bit of veteran savvy and comeback ability in fights. I know he got finished by Renner de Ritter, but he has some really good wins on his record. And frankly, I don't even know if like a Bo Nickal would beat GM3 at this point. And while Daukaus is better on the feet than Gerald Meerschaert, and he's cleaner technically, GM3 is a specialist in a couple of things that he is very, very good at. And so if you shoot a lazy double leg, or if you get caught during an exchange, or you get lazy trying to get back to your feet, or you risk it too much, GM3 is going to grab your neck. And I know, like, if we look at the odds, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest favorite on the card besides Baisangur, Susurkaev, is Kyle Daukaus, -425, Gerald Meerschaert money line +330. I'm going to pick GM3 by sub. I'm going to say 3rd round. No, that's too late for a guillotine. I'm going to say early 2nd round guillotine. During an exchange, Kyle Daukaus gets clipped, shoots a lazy takedown, panic takedown, and gets guillotined by GM3. The roof blows off of MSG. We forget that the main event's even happening, that it's one of the biggest welterweight fights and one of the biggest title fights of the year. GM3 is going to blow the roof off at MSG. They're going to call it MS3, not MSG, for GM3, the GOAT. So that's what I have. I have Gerald Meerschaert by second round guillotine submission. We move on from the early prelims to the regular prelims. We have Cody Haddon against Malcolm Wellmaker, 10-0, coming off of a win, 8-1, coming off of a win. This is Malcolm Wellmaker's fight to lose. This is set up for him to become a very big star. Right hook KO on Contender Series, 2 right hook KOs in his first 2 UFC fights, 2 bonuses, really likable guy. He's a prospect still, and they're putting him on MSG. That shows that they're trying to give Malcolm Wellmaker a big, big push. He's got very heavy hands. He's durable, pressure fighter. You know, he was a blue-collar worker. He's had to push through that. He would work all day in a pipe fitting factory or a zinc factory as a pipe fitter, something like that, and then go train. I think that he has mental toughness that's better than a lot of guys that are fighting. Cody Haddon, quick, fast, good movement, high volume, but very low power compared to Malcolm Wellmaker. Frankly, Malcolm Wellmaker, better chin, better power, more durability. And this is Malcolm Wellmaker's fight to lose. This is where Malcolm Wellmaker can make himself the next big thing at 135. The odds are very close, -155 to +130. I don't really want to put a whole lot of doubt on Cody Haddon because he is very talented, but the power and the durability lies on the side of Malcolm Wellmaker. And this is his fight to lose. This is his chance to become a big star. And so far he's delivered. I think Malcolm Wellmaker is going to get a nasty first round KO, blow the roof off the place, and become a massive star. Highlight reels, all that. And then you're probably looking at a top 15 guy, somebody in that 13 to 15 range, ranked at bantamweight. Maybe they give him one more fringe ranking guy before that. But this is Malcolm Wellmaker's fight to lose. And I think he's going to have a star-making performance at MSG. So I have first round KO, Malcolm Wellmaker, right hook again. We move on to Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. Big fight in the women's 125 division. Erin Blanchfield lost to Manon Fior in a main event last year. She's 13-2. Tracy Cortez, 12-2. Very popular fighter, Tracy Cortez. Fans love her. The UFC wants to push her, but it's going to be a tough matchup for her because Erin Blanchfield is one of the best grapplers in women's MMA. I know that the Manon Fior fight was a rough showing, to be honest, but high control time, one of the best grapplers in MMA. She's got great chain wrestling, and she's shown a lot of striking improvement. She's not as dangerous or as well-rounded as Shevchenko, and I don't think she beats Shevchenko if they ever fight, but I think once Shevchenko is not around anymore, Blanchfield is the one that's going to run this division for some time. We take a look at the odds, -258 in favor of Erin Blanchfield. And that makes sense because while Tracy Cortez has got good wrestling, fairly well-rounded striking, and she is scrappy, does have good scrambles, but she does have low finishing ability, and her defensive striking is not quite there yet. She does get hit quite a bit. Good wrestler, but Blanchfield is a great MMA grappler, especially for women's MMA. And I feel like Erin Blanchfield is on a title run. Like, she's on the path to a title at some point in the career. Tracy Cortez has not really shown us that same ceiling. She hasn't really shown us that she's going to beat any of the best fighters in the world. She lost to Rose Namajunas. When she's had chances to step up, she hasn't really shown us much. And look, I know the fans like her, all that type of stuff, but I feel like she is more caught up in the superstardom of being a UFC fighter that the fans kind of goon over and stuff like that versus taking her career seriously. But I feel like she's more caught up in doing Nina drama type of content, you know, that type of thing. I could see her being a very long time analyst with the UFC after her career is over. I don't think she has like title possibilities in her future. So I'm going to go with Erin Blanchfield by second round sub. I think she's going to drown Tracy Cortez in the first round. Tracy Cortez is going to be very, very tired and eventually give her back and get rear naked choked at some point in the second round. So I have Blanchfield by second round sub. Moving on from there, we have Roman Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez. It's a cool matchup. I wish they would have done a different matchup. We have the very clean southpaw kickboxing of Roman Kopylov. He's had some fun knockouts, but his grappling has been exposed. Excellent body kicks, precision style striking, but when he gets pressured by big punchers, he does start to fold. He doesn't have that physicality to push back. And Gregory Rodriguez is one of the more physical fighters in the middleweight division. He can wrestle. He has a BJJ black belt. He's probably one of the bigger fighters in the division as well. Very, very hittable, but insanely durable. And he does find a way to create chaos in fights. When we look at the odds, it's slightly in favor of Gregory Rodriguez. Not a pick'em, but just slightly towards Gregory Rodriguez with a -125, -185. Kopylov wins when it's a clean striking match. Rodriguez likes to turn fights into brawls, and that's what Kopylov does not like. So I think what's going to happen is we are going to have Kopylov trying to keep the distance in the first round, succeeding for the first 2.5, 3 minutes. And I think there's going to come a time towards the end of the first round, early second, where Rodriguez goes, fuck it, it's time to make this ugly. He's going to start pressure Kopylov up against the fence, let off big combos, elbows, knees, and I think we're going to get a TKO up against the fence early second round by Gregory Rodriguez and potentially a ranked opponent after that. Kopylov going to try to be precise and pick away at shots, and eventually RoboCop is just going to kind of bully him in there from a physicality standpoint. I mean, 6'3", versus 6 feet, and you look at the physique difference, RoboCop's going to bully him in there once he decides to start brawling. We move on to the headliner for the prelims, Bo Nickal versus Adolfo Vieira. Bo Nickal said he would retire if he was not on the main card, but now here he is headlining the prelims. Elite NCAA wrestler with some crazy winning streak as a college wrestler. Explosive double legs, good top pressure, good showing against Cody Brundage. His striking is developing, and he does have good skill and power in his hands, but his striking is still developing. We saw him get finished with that knee to the body by Renner de Ridder, which doesn't age well considering the Renner de Ridder loss to Brendan Allen now. But I still think Bo Nickal is undersized for 185 and that he should be at 170. I think he does that wrestler thing where he wants to cut a little bit of weight, but not like MMA weight cutting. And I think that hurts him. He's got high control time in the grappling, but he is truly inexperienced in those BJJ positions, which could be something that Adolfo Vieira takes advantage of. But Adolfo Vieira, questionable gas tank, fades as the fight goes on, really struggles on the feet. His last 2 fights was taking Trayshawn Gore to a decision win. That does not look good. And then losing a decision to Andre Petrosky. I think Bo Nickal beats both of those guys pretty easily. As much as I don't really care for Bo Nickal, I still think he beats Andre Petrosky. I still think he beats Trayshawn Gore. And Adolfo Vieira took Trayshawn Gore to a fucking decision, bro. So while Adolfo Vieira does have world-class jiu-jitsu, ADCC competitor, he's got that physical horsepower that is diminished. Either that's age or him getting off of steroids because he's not a jiu-jitsu competitor more and he actually gets drug tested. He's dangerous in the top position. He's got that horsepower, but it fades fast. We have this wrestler versus jiu-jitsu matchup, which a lot of times do go towards the jiu-jitsu guy because wrestlers are not used to settling into those positions, or American wrestlers at least. With all of that said, and even considering that Bo Nickal has never faced someone, or at least never succeeded against somebody with a high submission IQ like Renner de Ridder or Adolfo Vieira, I still have confidence in Bo Nickal to get this done because Adolfo Vieira has looked very suspicious on the feet and cardio-wise in his last couple fights. So I give the advantage in this fight to Bo Nickal. I think 29-28, 39-27. Adolfo Vieira's comp has been bad recently, and he's looked pretty mid against that comp. So Bo Nickal, decision, 29-28, 30-27. Tricky and close, but still Bo Nickal wins. We move on to the main card. The fight that bumped Bo Nickal down to the prelims, Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Beneil Dariush, great grappler, high fight IQ, veteran experience against some of the top guys, but he has lost some momentum. He hasn't been as active. He got smoked by Arman Sarukian. Benoit Saint-Denis got high pace. He's got some good power on the feet, although his striking defense is awful. He spams that left body kick over and over with his hands down. Beneil could take advantage of that, but I still think that Benoit Saint-Denis, up-and-coming guy, more to fight for. Beneil Dariush has been around, made some good money in the sport. I think the younger, more explosive guy that doesn't have multiple KO losses or getting hurt badly in fights on his record, like Beneil Dariush, is going to take the win. I got Benoit Saint-Denis. I could see a decision, but really I'm thinking third round ground and pound TKO. And I think that the younger, more explosive guy from the hungrier guy is going to outdo the veteran in Beneil Dariush. So that's my pick for that fight. Benoit Saint-Denis by round 3, ground and pound TKO. After a tough fight where Beneil just eventually takes too much damage to fight back. And it's a minus 180 for Benoit Saint-Denis. And I agree with that. It's a close fight, slightly leaning towards Benoit Saint-Denis. So I agree with those odds. And I would say put the money on Benoit Saint-Denis, but it is Beneil Dariush. He's a crafty vet. Shout out to Lucas Tracy. Enjoy temporary retirement, I guess. Beneil Dariush could find a way, but I am taking Benoit Saint-Denis. We move on to one of the more exciting fights on the card. Leon Edwards, former champion, going up against Carlos Prates. 22-5 versus 22-7. The bigger guy, I know that it's only 1 inch in height, but the bigger guy is Carlos Prates. He's a lot bigger than Leon, and it'll look like that. He's physically imposing for the weight class, and Leon is not. You have Leon, who's just this ultra clean technical striker. He loves to make a fight boring and just chip away, land on points. Great counter fighter, relatively high fight IQ, but he frankly just has a lot of quit in him. And he's gotten dominated in his last 2 fights by heavy grapplers. Now, Carlos Prates is not going to grapple. This is literally going to be a Muay Thai fight, which is possibly where Leon Edwards might want to introduce the grappling, is because Carlos Prates not really that well-rounded on the ground, but Leon Edwards is smaller and he's not a great grappler himself. I know he took down Bilal at the end and he took down Colby at the end of the fight, but he's got a lot of quit in him. You know, we saw that in the Bilal fight. We saw that in the Sean Brady fight. A lot of quit. And that doesn't just mean when it comes to heavy grappling. I think it just means when the going gets tough. And of course, people are going to talk about the head kick and all of that. But I think when the going gets tough for Leon at this point in his career, he's made his money. He's had his glory. There's going to come a point where he goes, why am I still in here? It's going to take me multiple wins to get back to the title. Prates is throwing heat. Why am I still in here? And I think that that doubt's going to creep in. Carlos Prates has got killer instinct. I see some people saying that Leon Edwards, his composure and experience, he's going to find a way to endure some early danger and then go on to win a decision. But I got Carlos Prates by vicious KO. Even right here, minus 175. I'm thinking a good striking match for the first 2 rounds. Round 3, Carlos Prates, vicious, left hand down the middle, wobbles Leon Edwards. He gets backed up to the fence, nasty combos, knees, elbows, big body shots up against the fence. I think Leon Edwards, I could see a standing TKO, but I could see him getting slept by something with some mustard on it up against the fence after getting hurt with a head kick or a 1-2. I got Prates by vicious KO. And when you take a look at all the welterweights that are fighting this week, and then you have Bilal and Ian Gary next weekend, we have 8 out of the top 10 welterweights fighting in the next week and a half, basically. The person that gets the title shot is going to be the person that gets the title shot against the winner of Islam and JDM, if it's not Topuria moving up, is going to be whoever has the most exciting performance. And I don't think Leon's going to have that exciting of a performance. I don't think Sean Brady would have that exciting of a performance. I think that Bilal and Ian Gary could be a snooze fest. I think Carlos Prates has the biggest potential for a nasty KO that ends in a title shot. I don't even care if he lost to Ian Gary. If Carlos Prates goes out there and smokes Leon Edwards with something nasty, highlight reel worthy, he'll get the title shot against the winner of JDM and Makhachev. And I'm telling you, the striking matchup of JDM versus Carlos Prates would be fucking sick. So I got Carlos Prates round 3, standing TKO, potentially KO, but nasty combos up against the fence after hurting Leon. Leon's going to roll over when the going gets tough, in my opinion. Quick break. If you're loving this video and you want more from Fight Society, click that join button down below to become a channel member today, where you'll get access to members-only live streams, behind-the-scenes vlogs, and all the unfiltered stuff that we don't post to the main channel. Back to the video. We move on to Sean Brady versus Michael Morales, another potential #1 contenders fight in the welterweight division, 18-1 versus 18-0. Sean Brady coming off of a dominant win over Leon that should have been good enough for a title shot. Of course, the division is very crowded at the top, so he says, fuck it, give me another fight. He takes Michael Morales on 6 weeks notice, which I respect the hell out of. He's a strong grappler. I know he's got the 1 loss to Bilal on his record, but it was in Abu Dhabi, jet lagged against Bilal, who went on to become champ. I don't really hold it against him that much. I know a standing TKO against Bilal is really bad, but strong grappler, very good control and submission threats once he gets on top, but slow and plotty on the feet, which could be a problem against Michael Morales, because Michael Morales is big for the division, very, very fast, hits hard. So I could see, you know, the young prospect in Morales with a lot of movement and a lot of range and a lot of KO power being an issue for Sean Brady. But I look at their last two matchups, but the last matchup for each guy, Sean Brady dominated a former champion who was just coming off of one loss, and it was where he lost the belt, and it was on 6 weeks' notice. Whereas Michael Morales beat a very, very broken, damaged, and aged Gilbert Burns in the Apex, who folded at the first sign of adversity in that fight. He got cracked and he keeled over and was ready to take the TKO. It's a close fight. Both of these guys are dangerous. One's a dangerous grappler, one's a dangerous striker, but minus 135 in favor of Sean Brady, it makes sense to me. Close fight that leans slightly towards Sean Brady. I'm taking Sean Brady by round 3 sub. I think that the first round is going to be Morales moving around, circling the cage a lot, but Morales does allow his feet to get very neutral quite a bit. And I think eventually Brady's going to land a double leg on him. And once he gets that double leg, it's wraps. Whether it takes 1 round, 2 round, 3 rounds, Morales is not going to get back up once Sean Brady gets that takedown. And that's why I think either decision or late round sub for Sean Brady. He gets the takedown and dominates his way to decision, or finds a way to the back, or that mounted guillotine that he got on Leon once Michael Morales is really, really tired. Sean Brady, late round sub. I don't think he gets a title shot off of this win because the way that he fights is not really conducive to a highlight reel finish that would get him some sort of title shot. But still, it's going to be a great win. He might have to fight again. He might have to fight like a Shavkat or something like that. He's putting together a really legendary run to the belt if he ever gets it. But Sean Brady, late sub or decision. We move on to the co-main event of Valentina Shevchenko against Zhang Weili. This is the two most skilled female fighters in the world. Of course, you have Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes that'll probably be fighting at the White House later this year, but they are more physicality threats and power threats, whereas Weili and Valentina are the two most well-rounded, for one, and the two most skilled just in general athletic female fighters that exist. Valentina Shevchenko, very technically sound, well-rounded, Muay Thai base, great striker, mixes in the takedowns well, tons of championship experience, great timing, great defense. Really not much negative that I can say about Valentina Shevchenko. And the same goes for Weili. Power striker. I know she had a couple slip-ups against Rose in her career, but power striker, great wrestling and grappling in recent years. Highly, highly durable, great output. I think that the only thing that happens here that costs Weili is the size difference, because Valentina Shevchenko used to fight at 135 pounds. Weili is really small. I saw her next to Tracy Cortez on Embedded this week, and I was like, holy shit, Weili is tiny for the flyweight weight class. Like, she would probably still cook Tracy Cortez, but when you essentially take the skill of both of them and just say they're almost even, I'm going to give the power and physicality to Valentina Shevchenko. I think she's going to find a way to keep the distance. Weili is going to have a hard time getting inside. I think that she's not going to have the strength in the grappling department against Shevchenko. And Shevchenko is going to get a 5-round decision, 49-46, something like that. I don't think she finishes Weili because she's so durable. 49-46, maybe a 48-47. I could even see a 50-45 for Shevchenko. I think that's going to be a kind of disappointing performance for Weili because she's just so small. And then Valentina, she'll be looking for her next opponent, possibly Blanchfield or Cortez if she wins. But I think after this fight, especially given the loss that I'm expecting, Weili goes back down to 115 and challenges the new champion, Mackenzie Dern, to get her belt back. So that's what I think is going to happen. Very competitive, but clearly one-sided decision for Valentina Shevchenko. We move on to the main event. I made a whole separate 20-minute video breaking down like the stakes and the matchup for this fight. One of the best fighters, maybe top 10 of all time, in Islam Makhachev versus a very dangerous champion, Islam Makhachev, moving up in weight. I'm kind of stuck between Islam's weight cut being a lot less drastic, causing his cardio to be a lot better and, you know, carry over into this new weight class? Or is it that he's put on some extra size and that he's going to gas out faster? Is he going to be slower? And even on top of that, he's fought a lot of guys that were a lot smaller than JDM. I mean, I went through it in my video the other day, or yesterday actually. Islam fought Volk twice, Poirier, Moicano, Charles Oliveira. all former featherweights. JDM is a regular sized welterweight. This is going to be the biggest guy that Islam has ever fought. So I don't think he's going to be able to just bully him, even though he's put on a lot of weight. He looks like a monster at 170, Islam. But I don't think he's going to be able to just bully Jack Della Maddalena. We saw Jack Della Maddalena do very well against Belal Muhammad. And while Islam Makhachev is way more dangerous on the feet and way more dangerous on the ground than Belal Muhammad, JDM still did very, very well against that stylistic matchup. You know, the odds -285 for Islam, I get it given his reputation, but I think these are kind of dirty odds. I'm taking JDM by 4th round TKO, 5th round, late TKO when Islam starts to fade, kind of the same way as the Volk fight. I think it's going to be similar to Volk 1, where it's a very close fight that starts to go towards JDM in the late rounds, the same way that it went towards Volk in the late rounds. I got JDM by 4th round TKO. I already said this in my last video, so I won't keep it, I'll keep it kind of brief about this fight. JDM, 4th round TKO, and then from there, I hopefully fights Protest. That'd be like a dream matchup for me, but maybe he fights Ian Gary if Ian Gary beats Belal. There's a lot of options for JDM. It's a killer weight class. It's probably the most stacked weight class in the UFC right now. JDM defends the takedown. If he gets down, he hits that switch that even Poirier was able to hit on Makhachev. And that's why I think Islam Makhachev's career ends here. I think that he's accomplished enough. I think that a loss here leads to retirement for Islam. He already says he doesn't want to go back to 155. I would hope he would go back down to 155 and fight Ilya. But I think we're going to get a round 4 TKO for JDM and retirement for Islam Makhachev. So there is my picks. In recap, I got JDM, Shevchenko, Sean Brady, Protest, Benoit Saint-Denis, Bo Nickal, Robocop, Blanchfield, Wellmaker, GM3, Chepe Mariscal, Fatima Kline, Baisangur, Susurkaev, and Matheus Camilo. I did really good on UFC 321 picks. I went 8-3-1, I think. I would have been 9-3 if Tom Aspinall won. But here we are. There's my picks for UFC 322. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you want more from Fight Society? Like and subscribe below this video and click the join button to become a channel member today to get access to behind the scenes vlogs and members only live streams.